course on the exploratory data analysis with Excel. In this class, we are going to study summary measures for numerical variables. To do that, I chose a dataset available in Kaggle called Netflix User Dataset. You can find the link to this dataset in the description of this video. And so let's jump into it. The first thing that we have to note here is that this dataset is a bit messy because we have the raw data here. So we will start by having a quick look at our dataset, sort of visual analysis of it, so that we can better organize the information to do the analysis that we want. Let's organize a little bit the data that we have here. Let's have a look at the different types of variables that we have. As we can see, this is an ID variable that is useless from an analytical perspective. Here we have a categorical and nominal variable. Monthly revenue is a numerical variable. I'm going to center this whole column here. We have two date variables that are last payment date and join date. Then we have the country variable age, which is another numeric variable, gender, device, and plan duration. One first thing that I will do, as we are going to work here only with the numerical variables, the first thing that I will do is I'll place the variable age next to the variable monthly revenue. So I will insert a new row here, and then I'll cut this variable from here and I'll paste it there, and then I will delete this column from here. Okay, so I have the two numerical variables, one next to the other. I could organize the information here on the date because we can see that it's not standardized. We have some dates placed like day, month, year. Then we have year with only final two numbers. Then we have the year in a different format here, but I'm not going to work on that because our focus here is on descriptive statistics of the numeric variables. I will build these results here. There is one important thing that I like to do when I do data analysis, which is I like to preserve the original data. So I will create a copy of this spreadsheet here, and I will rename it as descriptive statistics or summary statistics, whatever you prefer. Now I'm going to define which descriptive measures I'm going to calculate here. And I'm going to start with extreme values. So I'll find the mean and the max values for these two variables. I'm going to detach these two variables here. I'm going to color them as this light green. So I'm going to work here only with the monthly revenue and the age variables that are the numerical variables that we have in this data set. And this data set has a total of 2,500 objects or instances in the whole dataset, right? So the extreme values, and now I will also calculate the central tendency measures, and more specifically, I'm going to calculate the mean, the median, and the midpoint. Then I'll go for the variability or dispersion measures, and in this case, I'm going to present the range, the interquartile range, the semi-interquartile range, the variance, the standard deviation, I'll call it STD, and the coefficient of variation that I will call CV. I will calculate the relative position measures. More specifically, I'm going to calculate here the quartiles, Q1, Q2, and Q3. Then I will determine the measures of shape, more specifically fullness and kurtosis. And finally, I will calculate some association measures, in this case, covariance, and then correlation. This is what we are going to do here for the numeric variables. Organize a little bit the information that I'm going to present. Okay, there are various ways of doing what we want to do here. And one way is by simply typing in the cell the function that you want to apply in your data. If you know the function, for example, I know that this function is mean, right? And what I have to do now is I have to input the range, then will be covered by this mean. Okay, so So, and here I'm going to do that for the variable age. So let me put here revenue, the name of the variable, and name of the variables that we are going to work with here, right? So let's enter these values, the variables that I'm working with. And now the max, I'll do pretty much the same thing as I did there, C2 to C501, and then I'll drag, which means I'm going to copy that formula to there, but using the column for the variable age. And like that, I can do, well, here in Excel, we use the function. In this case, we are going to use a function called average, which is the mean. And again, C2 to C501. Okay. Okay, now if I am unsure if we have a function called median, we can just click here and search for the function median, for example. Okay, here we have the median. It works same way, right? So we can put the range here if we want. It's going to determine the median for us, right? And the midpoint, we can calculate the midpoint in different ways, but the midpoint here is the max value plus the mean value divided by 2. And as I already have max and mean, I can simply use what I calculated here to determine my midpoint. So I can use M4 plus M3 divided by 2. And this is my midpoint. Right, and one thing that I'm going to do here, format the numbers for 2 decimal places, right? Okay, so that I can have a more uniform presentation of my information. The range is the max minus the min. So again, I can use the values that I calculated here previously. So it's going to be M4 minus M3, M4 minus M3, right? Let's check, yeah, it's correct. Now the interquartile range is going to be the difference between the third and the first quartile, right? So I can do it using a built-in function. Let's check. Yeah, we've got the quartile here. So we are going to use quartile. In the first case, it's going to be here I want the third quartile. So here I have the range, which is for variable C, and I want to calculate the third quartile, right? Okay, so now I have to subtract it from the first quartile, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll take the quartile, I'll take the same range, but now it's the first quartile, right? So here I have the interquartile range for the variable monthly revenue, and now I have the interquartile range for the variable age. The semi-interquartile range is simply the interquartile range divided by 2. So I can calculate that by taking M11 divided by 2. And again, I can copy that, but I'll do that in a block later on, right? The variance, okay, so let's check here. Function variance, let's take the variance of a sample, because I'm assuming this is a sample. Right, so here I have the variance, the standard deviation. Again, let's search for this function here, the standard deviation. Let's place our range there. And finally, the coefficient of variation, which is the standard deviation divided by the mean. So I will use what I have already calculated, M14 divided by M6, right? Which is the mean or average. Okay, now that I have calculated all of them, I can simply copy these cells, these formulas to the case of the variable age. Now let's go for the quartiles. The quartiles we have already seen how to calculate them. They are here. And we noted that the only thing that we have to do here is to choose the quartile and to place the range. So that's what we did. Let's go now for the second quartile, which is the median of the distribution. All right, this is the median of the distribution. Okay, now the third quartile. It's already here. Third quartile here, right? Okay. Now, the skewness and kurtosis, these are measures of shape of a distribution. The skewness aims at looking at finding tails and finding how the distribution is skewed. And so let's see if we have functions for them here in Excel, and we do. Okay, and again, we can simply place our range here. So we can say this almost zero, so the distribution is very close to normal. And the kurtosis is a measure of flatness of the distribution. And let's also find here if we have kurtosis. Yes, we do. And this has negative kurtosis value. Okay, so here we have the main descriptive statistics from these two variables of our data set, and all of them work with a single variable at a time. And now we have the association measures. I'm going to put them a bit apart here because the association measures, they are always taken among pairs of variables, right? So I don't want you to confuse them as if they were associated with the variables in separate here, right? So the covariance, let's find covariance here. So we have covariance, let's take covariance of a sample and assume we have a sample here. And here we have to place the both variables that we are going to compare, right? Variables monthly revenue and age. Okay, so here I have covariance, and now let's take the correlation, right? Correlation is there. Okay, and now we'll do the same thing. Correlation between variables monthly revenue and age. Okay, so the correlation is very small, showing us that there is very little correlation between the variables monthly revenue and age. So that's what I had to present to you today in this short video about descriptive analytics for numeric variables. Thank you for watching.